92.7 WMAY.
Springfield's news and talk.
So which guns are banned and those that are grandfathered, where can you have them? Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk. If you've missed anything from this morning, be sure to go check out the YouTube page for Bishop on Air. A conversation we had with Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell's there, where he said he's not going to enforce the gun ban and registry that Governor J.B. Pritzker signed into law this week. So you can watch that. But with the ban in effect, absent any court order, you've got a whole list of guns that are on a list, more than 170 different firearms on that list. And if you follow me on Twitter, you can see the story I just posted. List of more than 170 guns in Illinois banned, and that list could grow. All right? And I think that part's crucial here. Why? Well, because on the bill, it ultimately says that state police have the authority to add to the list. Here is House Speaker Emanuel Chris Welch talking about this on the House floor just before it passed, and he lays out some of the provisions, but I'll stop it right where I think a really interesting aspect is of the legislation, saying that, hey, you could see a whole bunch of guns added to this list.
Immediately ends the sale, delivery, and purchase of assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. This legislation includes a comprehensive, detailed, and updated list of assault weapons subject to the ban. High-capacity magazines are also prohibited. It strengthens assault weapons ban by also allowing the Illinois State Police to update the list as needed.
So that part right there, to allow Illinois State Police to update the list as needed. And the language of the law, you can see this again, the story I just posted, more than 170 different guns that are currently banned, absent any court order. And if you go there and check that out, of course, you can scroll through and look at all of those guns that are on this list. It's 170 different rifles and shotguns and pistols. And you can match up to see if one of your firearms that you have, commonly owned firearms, that are on this list that you can no longer go and buy. But if you look at the legislation, it specifically says that no later than October 1st of this year and every October 1st thereafter, the Illinois State Police shall, via rulemaking, identify, publish, and make available on its website the list of assault weapons subject to an endorsement affidavit. The list shall identify, but it's not limited to, the copies, duplicates, variants, and altered facsimiles of the assault weapons, and shall be consistent with the definition of assault weapon identified in the law. So again, House Speaker Chris Welch saying that, Illinois State Police have the authority every year, October 1st, to publish a new list of guns that they say are now banned. So what do you think about that aspect? Are you, as a gun owner, going to get that memo every year? Are you going to be required to go and refresh their website over and over and over again to make sure that you don't face a Class 2 felony every October 1st? And who's to say that, a gun that's commonly owned isn't just going to be added to that list? So we'll watch that closely. But again, Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell earlier this morning telling us that he is not going to enforce this gun ban and registry, joining a whole list of other sheriffs from across the state. 170 different firearms on a list. Your thoughts on this? Good morning. You're on WMAY.
I talked to 3 policemen yesterday. I just casually asked them what they were going to do, what they thought of it. They just kind of laughed. Said, no, we're not going to enforce it. A couple of county sheriffs and 1 state troopers, and I'm not going to enforce that. You're not obliged to obey any law that violates your constitutional rights. I'll just ignore all this. I'll buy what I want, and I'll do as I please, and if they don't like it, that's tough.
I appreciate the call. I'm getting more of your calls and reaction at 217-629-7970. Had full phone lines. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Morning, Bishop.
Hey.
Hands down, God bless the real Americans, such as Jack Campbell, that believe in America and the Constitution. And for all the naysayers that said they're not coming to take our guns a couple years ago, they're coming to take our guns. This is the start of it right here. They are coming to take our guns.
Those who downplay your concern there, look at what's happening in Connecticut. The governor there, they have an assault weapons ban, and the governor says that he wants to go after those that are grandfathered and registered. So, those who say that confiscation follows registration, just look at Connecticut. Appreciate the call, 217-629-7970. Good morning.
Good morning, Greg. Am I on?
You're on the air.
Okay. You know, the first thing in Afghanistan after we bugged out was that they confiscated all weapons from civilians, and if you didn't turn over a weapon, you were executed. You know, that's okay. I find it beyond hypocrisy that the governor, who is surrounded by armed bodyguards, and you have to go through a metal detector to get into the legislature, all these guys could vote, quote, for public safety. Who's public safety? And I know for a fact that basically the police, the armed guards that guard the governor have automatic weapons, not just guns that would be banned under this, but automatic weapons.
Yep.
You know, will there be exemptions for these people? Of course there will be, because thus for thee, but not for me, you know?
Yeah.
And these Democrats that all voted for this, 1,000, when Obamacare was passed, 1,000 Democratic elected officials lost their jobs as a result of that.
Well, we'll see what happens if the political atmosphere changes, but you have some Democrats that didn't vote for it. State Senator Doris Turner here locally did not support this ban, but you had Republican Jim Durkin, who did support it. He's no longer in the legislature and lost his leadership position. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
I grew up hunting and I grew up around guns my whole life, but I can understand where the sheriffs are coming from about, saying that they believe it's unconstitutional. But on the other hand, for them to just willy-nilly kind of decide I'm not going to enforce it, it's kind of, to me, a slippery slope in the sense of, okay, well, I don't believe that the abortion bill is constitutional, or I don't believe in this one, so I'm just not going to enforce that either.
Police and prosecutors have long heralded that they have discretion, even all the way down to a pullover, and the cop says you were going 90 miles an hour, but you've been cooperating, and I'm not going to charge you with this.
Yeah. So, at what point do sheriffs, they have discretion, but to actually, come out and say, we don't support this, and we are not going to... We're openly defying.
Well, and the reason they're saying they're openly defying this is they say it violates their oath of office. They are elected by the people, and they take an oath of office to uphold the U.S. Constitution. That doesn't exclude the Bill of Rights. And these sheriffs across the state that are saying they're not going to enforce this say that the measure violates the Second Amendment. Hey, I appreciate the call. Another issue I wanted to talk about real quick here isn't just the more than 170 different guns on a list that are now banned and you can't purchase them, and that could grow because state police have the ability to add to the list every October, but you also have where you can actually have these that are grandfathered in, and the law that says that beginning 90 days after the effective date of the act, which was Tuesday, a person authorized under this section to possess an assault weapon attachments, 50 caliber rifle, 50 caliber cartridge, shall possess such items only on private property owned or immediately controlled by the person, on private property that is not open to the public with the express permission of the person who owns or the immediate control of the property, while on the premise of a licensed firearms dealer or gunsmith for the purpose of lawful repair, while engaged in legal use of assault weapon attachment, 50 caliber rifle or 50 caliber cartridge at a property licensed firearm range or a sport shooting competition, or while traveling from one of these locations to the other, assault weapon attachment or 50 caliber must be unloaded and in a case. So again, that's where you can have it, and says that's after 90 days of that particular law being enacted, which it is enacted. The governor signed it on Tuesday. One last call here. Actually, a couple of more calls. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Hi, Greg.
Yep.
Hey, listen. The best thing that this country could do is pass a law that states clearly if you commit any type of act against another person with a pair of scissors, a gun, whatever it is, you go to prison for the rest of your life without parole. We need to teach these criminals a lesson and stop letting them run our country.
Appreciate the call. Doesn't necessarily go right up with what we're talking about per se, but I guess it kind of does, because people are talking, how do we control the violence that's happening? It may be stiffer penalties for those who actually commit violence instead of going after those who are lawful gun owners who've never pulled the trigger towards somebody else. Instead, you've got a gun ban that's impacting 2.4 million Illinoisans who are firearm owners in the state of Illinois. One last call. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Just a quick question. If the state police have the ability to regulate the list, doesn't that mean that they're making law?
It's through rule. So they have the ability to craft rules that comply with laws. So that's how they would do it, is they would, craft rules. And the rules would have to go through the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules, JCAR. But, the law does give the state police the ability to do that.
Amazing. I can't believe how this country's going on the toilet.
Appreciate the call. We'll take one last one, I promise. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Quick. So as I understand what you just read was, I'm not allowed to take my warlike rifle to my friend's house and shoot varmints in the country, because that's not my property.
No, it can be on private property as long as you have permission of the property owner.
Oh, okay. Whoosh, scared me there for a minute.
So go. Be sure to check that list. Again, you can follow me on Twitter and find that list of 170 different firearms and how that list could possibly grow. So go find that out at Bishop on Air on Twitter. We've been talking about this for weeks now, and you can find all those conversations at my YouTube channel as well, Bishop on Air. Got to take a break. It is Springfield's Morning News on